Hello, we are starting in a few minutes. We will just wait for all the people interested to enter to the room. So just a few minutes.
It's okay, well, no, I'm focusing there.
Okay, so please take your seats or go on the back or on the side of the room.
I told Pass to back if you want, I think there are still some places left.
Okay, so the musical introduction has finished, so I think we can start. Welcome to everybody to our info session on the Dear Coco proposal. We are very pleased to see such an interest on our program. And thank you for having stayed until this moment to listen to our presentation. First, let me allow me to introduce our team. We are the Dear team, and I am Lucia. I'm task manager in that B2. Here are my colleagues Jan Matthias in the B2 too, Joseph Schermester and Silvio Lazzari, and Paolo Barabesi that is hiding somewhere and will be ready to take your question at the question and answer session after the presentation. Paolo, say hello. Okay. So, we will start with this presentation in PowerPoint. Just for your information, the presentation will be available on Capacity for Dev. And also we are web streamed live on YouTube in this moment. So in the presentation, we will give you a background of the preparation of the call. We will describe what are the objectives and the priorities of the photo proposal. We will give an overview of the budget available, and then Jan will go through lot 1 and 2. Joseph will take care of lot 3, and Silvio will give a presentation on lot 4. I think I can already start giving the floor to Jan.
Okay, thank you, Lucia. Thank you for passing me the word. My name is Jan Matias. I'm a task manager at DFB2, and I will present you the part on the background in the new lots 1 and 2. So I'll start directly with okay, I cannot wait. I know it's fine. So let's say something about the background, actually what the DEAR program is about, why we are doing it, and what is our strategic planning on that. So in the 2014, we started a new multi-annual indicated program that allows us to develop some strategy for the DEAR program. And this strategy actually is stemming out from these two premises, which you can read. This means the strong and informed engagement of EU citizens is essential for an ambitious EU development policy. And the other one, that DEAR can give citizens tools to understand the increasing complexity of global development issues. So until the 2020, we have this objective that we are going to follow. There is also the strategic approach that's enshrined in this multi-annual indicated planning for 2014 and 2020. And these are the three main priorities of the strategic approach. So it's a pan-European action, so focusing on the added value on the pan-European level. Encourage coordinated action by consortia, so really to have coordinated projects, not overlapping, not inventing new approaches, and also the synergy with member states action. So on this, actually, we're also working closely with the Global Education Network Europe, which is a network of ministries of education and foreign affairs, and we are consulting with them closely our objectives and also following their objectives, so to make a synergy with their actions. And then we have the focus on the key global issues, which is also now which you can see in the guidelines in the section on objectives and priorities. So we'll talk about this later on. I will present shortly the consultation phase that actually went to the call for proposals that we are presenting to you now. It was quite a long way, and we're really delighted that we were able to please or to present a proposal that we believe is really very good for the civil society and for the member states and actually for all the stakeholders involved. So this consultation phase basically started on an ad hoc basis after the launch of the past call. We've received several remarks of various organizations, we've received letters, we had ad hoc consultations, and during the DCI committee meeting that actually decided on the new financial instrument for this call, our director said that it would actually make sense to consult this on more coherent basis or on a coordinated basis. So we started the EU member states consultation, which was a meeting that took place on the 22nd of September here in Brussels. Interest in the DEAR program actually was already seen quite well there, because we had 24 member states sitting around the table and presenting their views on the call and on the future of DEAR, and all of them being very well informed actually about our actions. So it gives us quite a reassurance that our program is being closely followed, and it's has a very good echo in the member states. Then we continue with a DEAR stakeholder conference that took place in the second half of October. I think it was 22nd, 23rd, but I'm not sure now. And this was actually, there were two objectives of this stakeholder conference. First of them was also to discuss with the civil society organizations as to complement to the EU member states consultation. So to bring more stakeholders, not only the civil society organization, but also researchers, local authorities, and again the policymakers around the table and talk to them about our priorities in general in the development education, but also about the call. And based on this consultation we had at the Dear Stakeholder Conference, we kind of came to this multi-stakeholder group that we are continuing on an activity that's been there in the past, and we wanted to revive it and to give it more strategic or more I don't know, well, to make it more coordinated. So this Tuesday and Wednesday we already had the first meeting of the multi-stakeholder group, which is now a consultation body for actually for all of you, because these 25 people sitting there around the table in Brussels were those whom we selected as the real representatives of the different stakeholder groups. So be it for the local authorities represented by the organization Platforma and their selected members, for the member states where the coordination bodies again the Global Education Network Europe, the CSOs represented by the Concord, or the academics represented by IDEA. Oh, IDEA. How is it the name? EADI, sorry. So now we'll move to something that is actually the reason why we are sitting in this room. But shall I wait a moment, or is the excitement high enough in the room? Can DJ play some music? I feel like a rock star actually here. There's a lot of light shining in my eyes, and I know now that the rock stars are not feeling very good. So let's start. Oh, I know, we're not yet there. Sorry. Okay, again. So on the objectives. The objectives of the call, but these objectives actually are again from the multi-annual action plan, and they very much copy the objectives we had also in the past call. So if you wanna read them, the first part is basically similar to the first one, to the one from the past call, but the second one is reflecting on, as we said, the strategic priority of the global development debates, which is now the sustainable development goals. So already in planning the multi-annual action plan in 2014, it was quite clear that there will be a new development framework, which is the 2030 agenda or the sustainable development goals. And we are reflecting on this agenda in our call and are asking the projects to also focus on the priorities that are listed in the sustainable development goals. So now this is the one. Okay, this is already the one. So this is already the call. This is the interesting part that, for you the most, I imagine. So the global priorities of the call. We'll move to the money, don't worry. One or more of the sustainable development goals have to be addressed in the call, and this is really an obligation that will be also followed during the evaluation of the proposal submitted. There is another priority, which is the interdependencies between developing countries and the European Union. Then the public understanding of global public goods and challenges, and a particular emphasis, and this is again very important, will be given on migration, climate change, and gender equality. So please bear in mind that these topics shall be somehow enshrined or shall be mentioned in your projects. That it's not that there should be only focus on migration, climate change, and gender equality projects, but even if you are implementing project in a different field, please take into account these three important priorities of not only the DEAR program, but the European Commission in general. Okay, and now this is the money part. This is really the one you are here for. So I think we have something that you will enjoy very much. We have 92,950,000, so we have almost 93 million we are putting something on the table. And this is, I think, by far the biggest program for the CSOs in Europe, with 93 million euro on the table. We have also raised the EU contribution to 90% for all lots. So those of you who remember the past call or the old ones, we started from 75 in the call 2011-2012. In the 2013, we had 85% for the member states for the EU 15, the so-called old member states, and we had 95% for the EU 13. So now, since the new EU member states are not so new anymore, they've been, or we've been, I'm also from one of these, I'm from the Czech Republic. So we've been with the EU for the past, since 2004, let me count, 12 years, so we are not that new anymore. And we should have the equal treatment with the EU 15. So this is the 90%. There will be 3 lots for the civil society organization. There will be lot 1, lot 2, and lot 3. And there will be 1 specific lot for the local authorities. The thing that you requested the most, and it's really a result of a wide discussion with the civil society organization, but again also with member states and the academia, is the new lot 4, lot 3, which is something completely new for this call, and this is financial support to third parties, which actually is the new practical guidelines Prague board for sub-granting. So there's a specific lot only for sub-granting, and this is really our response to your remarks about small civil society organizations being put aside and not being able to compete for your call. And there is a new call to really cover as much as possible of the civil society organizations in Europe. Legal entity may only apply once, either as a lead applicant, co-applicant, or affiliated entity under this call. I don't know whether there will be some question on this, but I hope it is quite clear. So one legal personality or legal entity, or however you want to call it, may only be once either applicant or co-applicant. But if he is a co-applicant, he cannot be lead applicant, and vice versa. So to really have as much as possible civil society organizations in Europe represented and implementing their project. I will now pass to the new slide. Wow. So this is actually the big overview, but we will come back to this later. So let's take pictures fast, and I will just pass this one because we go to the same thing actually in more detail over here. And the big slide is there actually after once you come back home, so you have a nice overview where you can sit and watch again all the lots. So I go for the lot 1. The new lot 1 actually is now replacing the lots 1, 2, and 3 from the call 2013, meaning that actually under this lot you will have the non-formal, the non-formal education, the formal education, and the awareness raising and campaigning. For the lot 1, applicants from all EU 28 member states can apply. They should cover at least 10 minimum countries with at least 3 partners. So it doesn't mean that in each country you have to have a partner necessarily. It's, you have to cover 10 countries, but you have to have only 3 partners. And then the minimum and maximum amounts of a grant are 3 to 7 million euros. So we again increased the higher threshold and kept the lower one. For the lot 2, it's actually analogy to the lot 1, but for the EU 13 member states, the member states coverage minimum is 6 years, so it stayed lower. And the minimum and maximum amount of a grant is 750,000 to 7 million. So here you can see that we have decreased from 1 million from the EU 13 member states to 750,000. And we kept the same higher threshold as we do have for the lot 1, or for the lot 1, for the EU old member states. Here, I'll just list again what I've basically already said, but let's go through it again. So in, I know this is the options actually. Okay, this is it. So in the lot 1, the former non-formal, formal, and campaigning and awareness raising was replaced by options 1 and 2. So under option 1, you have now the formal and non-formal learning, because we saw from the past call actually that these 2 categories can be merged, and also based on discussions with again member states and CSOs, we had an agreement that this is actually a good step forward. Again, the rule on the approval of relevant educational authorities for the project submitted under formal education remains. So this is the same as we had under the old lot 1 formal education. Relevant educational authorities must confirm, that must approve your call to see that it's not against the national curriculum, or it does not go against the national development strategy. The option 2 will be campaigning and advocacy. So this is the formal lot 3. And again, the focus will be aimed at activities, concrete changes in behavior at individual and collective levels regarding global development topics. Yeah, let's go for the available funding. So this actually, the amounts that are, the total amounts are the ones that have been allocated to this call, but the amount for the year 2016 is still pending a financial decision, which is basically just a formal procedure, but we cannot now officially say that we do have 45 million. We have to say that the amount that is available now is 15 million, and once we have this financial decision approved in September or in October, if I'm not mistaken, then the additional basically 30 million for the first lot and 10 million for the other lot will also be released. But the amounts that we are putting on the table actually for the lot 1 are 45 million, which is 60% of the global allocation, and 15 million, which is 20% of the global allocation. We will come back then to the lot 3 that my colleague Josef is going to present more in detail. Here again, we have the thresholds that I have already mentioned. So for lot 1, it's 3 to 7 million euro, and minimum 10 EU member states covered. Again, as I said, with at least 3 partners. For lot 2, minimum 6 EU member states, again with at least 3 partners. And now I pass the word to my colleague Josef, who will give you some more details on the lot 3, which is the sub-granting, or as we call it now, the financial support to third parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Lot 3, it used to be called sub-granting. It's not sub-granting anymore. It makes it a bit more difficult to talk about it, because if we said it's a lot about sub-granting, we have sub-grantees. Now here, instead of having sub-grantees, we have third parties who receive financial support to third parties. It's this lot 3, our new tool in our toolkit, and it's going to be very successful, we think, because there has been a very big demand from NGOs and from all stakeholders involved in development education to allow, to give access to our many effective small and middle-sized organizations who are not able to compete anymore as main applicants to normal lots. So for this new lot, financial support to third parties, we have a total available amount of 15 million 10,000 euros, and the minimum and maximum amounts of an EU grant are between 3 and 7 million euros. Actions must take place in a minimum of 6 EU member states, and the modality of financial support to third parties must be the main purpose of the action. What does it mean? It means that this modality has to reach out to CSOs, middle and small and medium-sized organizations, CSOs lacking the capacity to compete directly. What do we mean by capacity? You know that the concept of capacity has various dimensions. There is a financial dimension, there is a human resources dimension, and there is a technical dimension, and also a dimension in terms of experience, for how long an organization has been, for example, in a certain field. And these middle and small and middle-sized organizations who lack the capacity to compete directly for bigger grants and the other lots are very often very effective, maybe more effective than big ones, to carry out on a small or middle-scale geographic coverage projects. And so how can we solve this problem, which consists in the fact that this increasing size of grants we give for projects which are only accessible to very big organizations who have the capacity to manage them? How can we give access to small organizations that are very efficient? It's through this new instrument, this new tool in our toolkit, this modality of financial support to third parties. And it means that money will be made available by a main applicant who has the capacity to manage a big project to other organizations who are very good at grassroots level, but would not have the capacity to be the main beneficiary. Actions must contribute to the main and specific objective of this call proposal. That's a rule that's applies for all under all laws. And I think you have already maybe read these new guidelines. They were published 12 o'clock, no? Not yet? Okay, I thought it should have been published at 12 o'clock. So the main specific objective of this code of proposals consists in carrying out development education and awareness raising projects so that people, target groups, are change their mind and their attitudes in their daily life in such a way that in the long run, if they are very effective, this planet changes to such an extent that it has become, let's say, a planet on which living conditions are satisfactory and for everyone. You know maybe or you don't know yet that the modality of financial support to third parties, which is the main purpose of the action under Lot 3, is also possible under other lots.
Yes, but in another way.
In another way. But it's also possible as a component under other lots. But since it's here the main purpose of actions under Lot 3, we have designed a very detailed framework containing criteria and rules under which such projects can be carried out. And it is so complex and so detailed that we have created an annex number 10, which provides the necessary information to submit applications under this lot. And Annex 10, the title of Annex 10 is Financial Support to Third Parties, applicable to Lot 3 only. So it's not applicable to components consisting in financial support to third parties under other lots. First point, objectives must be in line with the main and specific objectives of the code proposal. Second point, eligible activities must be based on the options described in Lot 1. Option 1, global learning. Option 2, campaigning and advocacy, and include a mechanism of knowledge sharing. What do we understand under knowledge sharing? Knowledge sharing means that the main applicant with whom we signed the contract has to organize on a regular basis every year, exchange meetings with the partners, a kind of cluster meeting, to exchange their experiences and to share their knowledge and to network in order to contribute to a higher efficiency and maybe to a longer and stronger sustainability of the project after the co-financing has come to an end. Third point, third parties eligible for financial support. We could have used the word sub-grantee, but we don't use it because it's not doesn't correspond to our dictionary here, to our lexicon here. Third parties eligible for financial support must be private persons, non-profit making, a civil society organization or association of CSOs established in a member state of the European Union. Cannot, very important, cannot be a beneficiary of a grant under Lot 1, 2, and 4, neither as lead nor co-applicant or affiliated entity, and must have the capacity to successfully carry out the activities. Activities means component of the project, whereas action means project as a whole. Selection criteria. The beneficiary with whom we sign the contract can apply their own rules as long as the following conditions are fulfilled. But the criteria must be based on rules complying with the principles of proportionality, equal treatment, and non-discrimination, transparency, and prevent conflicts of interests. The selection and evaluation procedure must be well documented, and the list of third parties selected will need to be submitted to the contracting authority. Now, do you know where these rules come from? Do you think we have invented them, or they come from another Bible or important document? It comes from the Prague. You know the Prague practical guide? Yeah, very important. And if you don't understand it, read the companion, which explains it. Point 5. Criteria to determine amount of financial support to third parties. So, total amount allocated to third parties has to be specified. The number of third-party projects to be supported within this project. The costs linked to administration, management, and coordination incurred by the applicants, as well as costs linked to quality support activities. Point 6, a maximum amount of financial support per third party shall not exceed 100,000 euros. Point 7, system of control set up to verify the eligibility of costs. The auditor, who has to fulfill a certain number of criteria, you will see it before signing the contract if you are that lucky. The auditor shall verify the eligibility of costs incurred by the third party. And nota bene, there is no contractual link between the European Commission and the third party.
Okay, and now, good afternoon all. Thanks for being with us so far. So we've been talking about civil society organization, but lot 4 is a lot specifically tailored for local authorities and association of local authorities. I'm not going into the histories of development education concerning local authorities, but just to tell you that this is the 6th call for proposal specifically tailored for local authorities and their association. Of course, the lead applicant must be one of these 2 actors. It must come from the member state of the European Union and should be constituted in accordance with the legislation enforced into the country. Association of local authorities are also capable and eligible to apply to this law. What does it mean? It means that CSO can be co-applicant for this law, but not the main applicant. Next. The specific objectives for this law are similar to the specific objectives in the global objectives, actually, or the other 3 laws that my colleagues have mentioned. The only difference we may have is actually that when Jan was talking before awareness of the international agendas, local authorities are important actors also for what concerns climate change and urbanization. In October 2015, there's going to be Habitat 3, that is the UN meetings on urbanization issue that will replace the previous Habitat 2 that was done in 1996. Again, for lot 4, there are the 2 options explained by Yanni before. So these laws, the proposal must either choose between the global need education within the formal and informal education system, or under the second option is campaigning and advocacy. Well, the specific priorities of these laws, we thought that local authorities, they have a pivotal role to play regarding climate change, as I said before, and that's witnessed by the COP21 in Paris and the climate change agreement, as well as they have importance on tackling issues of urbanization. Local authorities being closer to the citizens than any other public institution, they have a great role to play when dealing with development education. They can mobilize citizens, and citizens can demand a local authority to be accountable towards their needs. It's very important for local authorities to be able to localize the international agendas. What is an SDGs? How can then be implemented? Local authorities, of course, are the forefront when talking about localization of the development or the sustainable development goal, because they are the one closer to the citizens. They are the one where the citizens can ask for. Next, please. Okay, regarding the size of the grant, local authorities, they have a total amount of 17,900,000 euros exclusively under the budget 2017. What does it mean concretely? That we're going to be able to sign contracts with local authorities only when the budget will be approved by our authorities, and we won't be before the end of 2016. And this doesn't impede local authorities, of course, to put forward the proposal, but just knowing that it will be signed once the funds are available. And the minimum amount has been kept the minimum as was in 2013, so 1 million euros for proposal, while the maximum amount has been increased to 7 million, and action must take place in a minimum of 6 EU member countries. Yeah. Eligibility condition. As applicant, is restricted to all local authorities and association of local authorities from the EU member state, while the co-applicant may be either a local authorities or a civil society organization or its association from member state or from partner countries. And Nota bene, access to funding. Local authorities and association of local authorities must be officially registered as such according to the law in the country. Because when we're going to do the eligibility check, we're going to check the status of the lead applicant to check whether it is indeed an association of local authorities or local authorities. Yes. Okay, here. I said before that co-applicant indeed can be either CSO, either local authorities. However, we have set specific conditions for lot 4. You should apply, the proposals must have a minimum of 5 co-applicants. 2 of them should come from the EU member state, and at least one of those from the EU 13 member state, where the main applicant is not from the EU member states. And these municipalities should be of a size of over 200,000 inhabitants. Then the other 2 applicants must be from a small local authorities from EU member states with municipality with a minimum of 30,000 inhabitants and a maximum of 200,000 inhabitants. And there should be at least 1 co-applicant from EU partner countries. Why we thought on having these strict criteria regarding co-applicant? Because actually what is there for is to develop awareness of European citizens of a globalized and independent world. And local authorities being the forefront needs to be linked for the reality of the South or the EU partner country. That's why there is one specific applicant has to be put in the proposal. And that's it for lot 4. And I pass the mic to Michi.
Okay, so this was our presentation. I hope that you followed our logs quite at ease, although some of them are maybe look a little bit complicated at this first glance. So the call for proposal will be published on the website. It was supposed to be published already now, but some technical timing has prevented it to be online now, but it should be a matter of time, minutes maybe. Then we will take some questions from the floor now. But remember that there is this functional mailbox for all the detailed questions about the eligibility and other technical questions. And also, your question will be replied in a public way, and the answers will be published on the same website of Europay. Then for this PowerPoint, it will be available on Capacity for Dev as soon as the information session is finished. So you can find all this information there. The deadline for the concept notes will be the 1st of June. And the timing for
So just to add that, compared to the previous call, we allowed more time for the submission of the concept note. This was to reply to questions mainly coming from local authorities, but of course also from civil society. Local authority has some constraints regarding the signatures of the proposal because it has to be signed most of the time by the council. And the 45 days that they allowed before was not enough to get the signatures, but that's of course apply also to civil society. And so since we were, fortunately, we had quite of time this year, we managed to have this long delay from the launch of the call to the submission of the proposal.
Okay. So I think we can start with the question from the floor. Ooh, wow. Okay. So yes, we will take some few questions and we will reply by group of questions. Just for yes, please.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Frank Geary from IDEA, which is the Irish Development Education Association. I have a couple of questions. The first question is with regard to, you've given us the time frame with regard to the deadline, but in terms of the time frame for then projects which are continuing and when there would be an expectation for projects to be in place, if you could outline that, that would be helpful. Secondly, if you could just speak a little bit more about the point that was mentioned about the approval of education authorities in the countries, whether that applies to all states, whether it applies to lead partners, and what is envisaged in relation to that? Because as far as I can understand, that's a new addition to the okay. But perhaps if you could elaborate a little bit. And then thirdly, just on lot 3, what's the minimum number of countries in terms of participation in lot 3?
Yes.
I think there's been 3 questions already,
Yes,
and we will
already.
forget them before.
Okay, I just take another person because we're already 3. So yes, who does it now? Okay.
So I wanted to ask about you mentioned that the third parties mechanism is also available for lot 1 and 2. If you can explain a bit more how it's going to work.
Yes, and then
I have a question on the lot 2, whether it will be possible to apply under the lot 2 and have still co-applicants which are not from the new member states outside of the EU framework. And then on the lot 3, what is actually your criteria in the term of what's the profile of the applicant which will be covering few countries? Do you assume that this is the organization which have branches there so they can check on the NGO, so it's just a geographical portfolio that the applicant will basically declare, okay, we will give a sub-grants or however you call them in a certain group of countries.
okay, we will start the line. So just to summarize, the first question was about when the project will be signed and can be implemented, if I understand well, and also what is the system of approval by the education system, and how many countries covered by lot 3. So who wants to reply? I think okay.
Lot 3.
Lot 3.
Lot 3. Actions must take place in a minimum of 6 EU member states. And the other point was about eligible applicants. Profile of the applicant. Yeah, for lot 3.
Yeah, this is the question of the other.
Yeah. So the organization has to, I mean, the main applicant has to fulfill a certain number of criteria which are listed in our guidelines. And unfortunately, you haven't already had the opportunity to read them. But they have to have their headquarters in an EU member state, be non-profit making, have a sufficient capacity, and I mean, you will see that there is also a copy of our evaluation grids concerning all these aspects as well, the aspect of capacity, and you will see which aspects are taken into account for us to give a score to the elements or subheadings of its capacity aspect. So I mean, the organization must fulfill the criteria, and they are not very much different from the criteria for other lots, you know. And yeah, your question does not concern the eligibility of third parties benefiting from. You know.
I can reply to Frank's question, but since I have no hand, I cannot write the notes, so I hope I remember them correctly. If I'm not replying to your question, it's not because I'm trying to escape, but I have a bad memory. So the one about the formal education, actually, you asked whether in only the lead partner country, also in other countries, if the formal education project is being implemented, the consent from the educational authorities are needed. And the answer actually is that wherever you intend to change the school curricula, you have to have this confirmed by the national authority that this is still in line with the national strategy. So yeah, wherever you are intending to do this. And then about the timetable of the projects, well, if we launch the project or if we've launched the call now, we've given you 75 days to submit the concept notes. And if everything goes as as planned, and the detailed timetable will also be published in on the website and in the guidelines of the call. We expect that the contract will be signed around April or rather May 2017. So up to you then when exactly you wish to start. If we would normally expect you to start right after the signature of the contract, which is the standard formula in the contract. But in the cases where you don't want to start at that moment, it can eventually be discussed. But of course, just in a reasonable term. So I would expect you don't start later than January 2015. But this is not carved in stone. This is just like my impression from that. And if there was another question, I've already forgotten.
Yes, there is another question about sub-renting in the other lots. So when sub-renting is not the main criteria of the call of the lot, and yes, there is an option for sub-renting, but it's for lower amounts and it's just for side activities. So maybe Joseph, you can give more explanation.
Yeah, the amount is 60,000. It's not 100, but 60,000 euros in the other under the other lots. Yeah, that's the main difference.
Per part.
Per sub-grantee, yeah.
And the percentage on the big budget, how much is it? Sorry?
The co-financing rate is 90%. You know, we give 90%. The grant is 90% of the total cost of the project for under all lots.
I mean, how many per party can you have?
You can have as many. I mean, that depends on the global grant, the amount you are asking for as a global grant, because your grant will be. I mean, the total costs consists of the two main parts: direct costs and indirect costs. You know, and you have as indirect costs, you have this 7% flat rate amount of 7%, and the other costs are the normal headings. You know, normally if you have the main headings such as human resources, travel, etc. And then you have for this lot 3 as well, special heading for administration and management and coordination, and another one for what we call now policy support, including this yearly exchange or cluster meetings or networking. These are direct costs as well. Yeah. Have I answered your question? No.
Maybe if I can just complete, your question was what is the percentage that actually is allowed if the sub-renting is not the main purpose of the action. But there is no concrete percentage that was given for that. So it really depends on the quality of the project and how it responds to the main and specific objectives of the call. So normally we wouldn't expect it to be or it cannot be by rules the main purpose of the action. It is always a marginal part of the action. It can serve, for example, to cover countries where you don't have partners or where you don't have activities, but it should never, under any circumstances, be the main purpose. So your strategy should actually just take it as a minor part of your project.
Okay, we take another round. Yes, we can go the back a little bit.
Excuse me,
yes.
Maybe I didn't hear well, but I think that we can, I have understood that we can take partner from the south only in one of the lots or in all lots. Because you have mentioned that partners could be from the European member states. And only for the lot 4, I heard that we can have another partner. Is that right?
I take another question and we reply. Yes.
Hello, thanks for the presentation. Margarita Solka from WWF. I had a question concerning lot 1 and 2 and the option of campaigning and advocacy projects. Could these also include some actions in terms of informal education activities at the same time? Then a question about partnership requirements and expectations. What are you looking for in terms of actors that would apply? Are you looking for multi-stakeholder alliances? Yeah, if you could elaborate a bit on that. Thanks.
Okay, another one.
Yes. Hi, Sergio Corbalan from the Fair Trade Advocacy Office here. I have a question on lot 3, as it's the new one I'm sorry, I've not seen the guidelines. I'm thinking of usually European advocacy and campaigning campaigns have one lead applicant that both does the grant management and coordination of the project. Then there is also a role of EU lobby, and then there is national partners that do national lobby towards national governments and towards national members of the European Parliament. It's quite a common setup. So I'm thinking, is Lot 3 suitable for this kind of project? I'm simply asking, meaning, you said that the main purpose of the eligible costs for the lead applicant is the management of sub grants or financing. So can the lead applicant also have some money for EU lobby work? That I would be interested to know, or is it exclusively to pass it on to the sub-grantees? And the second question, which is linked to that, is when we talk about this new third-party mechanism, the sub-grants in Lot 3, do you need to do one type of activity that you sub-grant across member states, but always the same pattern? Or can you do, for example, 3 types of sub-granting mini calls for proposals, one for advocacy and one for public awareness raising, for example? Is that possible?
Sorry, one for?
So I'm just assuming that a lead applicant for Lot 3 wants to promote actions on advocacy and campaigning, but separately also, let's say, on informal education or citizen awareness raising. Is it possible to do 2 parallel tracks of sub-granting schemes, let's say, under Lot 3?
Okay, thank you very much. We can reply to some questions. And so the first one was if for all lots there can be a non-EU partner. For Lot 4, it is compulsory. For the other, it's possible. It's not compulsory.
Lot 3, can we give grants abroad? I mean, to the south.
No, it's not. Okay.
Because one of the criteria that have to be fulfilled by third parties eligible for financial support must be a legal person, etc., and not be established in a member state of the European Union. And there is a footnote saying that to be determined on the basis of the organization's statutes, which should demonstrate that it has been established by an instrument governed by the national law of the country concerned, and that its head office is located in the eligible country. In this respect, any legal entity whose statutes have been established in another country cannot be considered an eligible local organization, even if the statutes are registered locally or a memorandum of understanding has been concluded.
Can you please translate?
Translate.
But the statute also that this will be available soon. So
Yeah, it will be available soon. I mean, normally maybe already now. You know. And
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I think it's the purpose of this session is to clarify that.
yeah.
So we have a simple question: Can the southern partner
No.
be eligible?
It's no. I thought it was evident that you understand that, but no.
That was not evident.
No, because I mean, I said beforehand, must be established in a member state of the European Union. Yeah. And then the footnote is more specific.
So the other question is something if you can include also partners.
Okay, so the question about the lots where whether in campaigning lot you can also have a part on the formal and non-formal education. Well, now we don't have the lots anymore, but as we presented are the options. So there's option 1 and option 2. And as for past call, where you had the lots, actually, formal education project or an education project can also have a component of campaigning and awareness raising. But the part that is actually prevailing should be picked as the option. And so if you have a mainly an education project with a small component of campaigning and awareness raising, you will take the option 1. And then I would come back, maybe I'm not sure whether we replied to the question about the lot 2 on the EU 13 member states. yes, the partners can be from other member states, and it's also about the transfer of knowledge and the capacity building. So the lead partner must be from EU 13, but the partners can be also from the EU 15. And the other questions?
Concerning projects or action activities financed under Law 3, I mean, I repeat that we have two types of activities based on these options number 1 and 2. Option 1 is global learning education, option 2 is campaigning and advocacy. And you explained that you had envisaged 3 types of activities. Am I right? You envisaged to carry out 3 types of activities in a project under Law 3. I mean, as long as the criteria, your activities fulfill the eligibility criteria of our activities specified under Annex 10, you can co-finance it. But I mean, if you are too specific, you know, if you now if you are too specific, or if you want to present a very specific project, we could not now on a case-by-case basis give you an answer, because then you should send you an answer to our functional mailbox, because it would be against our rules, because as far as questions and answers are concerned, I mean, in our guidelines it's very clearly stated that questions may be sent by email no later than 21 days before the deadline for the submission of concept notes or full applications to the address below, etc., etc. And also to ensure equal treatment of applicants. The contracting authority cannot give a prior opinion on the eligibility of lead applicants, co-applicants, affiliated entities, or an action or specific activities. And it's becoming very specific. Here we are only here to present the general frame of the code that has been published, or is being published, or will be published in the next minutes or hours. So, you know, we cannot, it's not meant to be really a questions and answers session on a specific project or organization.
Okay. But basically, the general answer would be no, because normally the subgranting should be the main purpose of the action. So you basically have your strategy. Your strategy is something, and you are implementing this strategy through the subgrants.
Okay, but my other, I will read the guidelines with attention, but what about my second question, like the different types of subgrants under Law 3? So I'm a lead applicant, can I set up 3 different sets of subgrant application processes?
Sure, and that would definitely be advisable, actually. Yes, as many either calls or as many selection, as many guidelines as you want to.
Okay.
Thank you for the session, and I'm Ines, generally working for Plan EU International, and I have a quick question. It's we talked about the comprehension of the general public good and challenges. Can you elaborate a bit this when you said public understanding of the GPPC? Can you elaborate a bit on this? Or?
The global public good and challenges.
Yeah. It was at the very beginning of the session, on the first slides.
Okay. Yes.
Is there a share between formal, non-formal, and campaigning? So a share of budget, minimum, no. So maybe all campaigning or all education, or it's up to the evaluator.
Hi, I'm Antonia from Eurotime, and well, there's obviously a big surprise in this call. We can only participate either in one project or the other, which is a big change obviously for us. So does that mean we can also, I mean, it's obvious we can only sign one contract, but does it also mean, because we don't know which one, if we will be successful, so does it also mean we can only apply once?
Okay. Okay. I can start answering for the share of budget between campaign and formal and informal education. No, there is not a budget that is dedicated to option one instead of option two. It will really be based on the quality of the proposal. The ones that have a higher score will be selected, and there is no, how do you say, quotas about one or the other option. Then, for the applicant and co-applicant section, they can apply only once. It is quite clear in the guidelines that yes, you can apply once, or as an applicant, or as a co-applicant, or as an affiliate. Then for the general public good and challenges.
No, it's just a question. I will try to reply because I don't really see it exactly in this wording on the slides I use, but I think it should be something about the global interdependencies and about responding to the priorities and criteria. So we'll just repeat maybe the part of the criteria. We have the Sustainable Development Goals, and your project is to respond to one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. There are the migration, environment, and climate change, migration, climate change, and gender priorities. And there are global interdependencies, which is basically the core of here. So explaining to people how, for example, their consumers' behavior affect the people living in the global south, and why fair trade is, why this brand exists, and these kind of answers to the questions people might have, or trying really to sensitize the people about the development issues in Europe.
Just one.
Sorry?
Just focusing on one. You can focus on more than one.
That's right.
You focus on more than one of the goals.
On the Sustainable Development Goals, actually the rule is that you have to focus on at least one of the Sustainable Development Goals. For the local authorities, they have specific Sustainable Development Goals they have selected for their call. It's 3, 5, 8, and 11 and 16. For the CSO, for the lot 1 and 2 and 3, it can be whichever from the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
The last round of questions, because we are running out of time. Okay, yes, one here.
Thank you. I'm Virginie from SSI Belgium. I have a question regarding the timetable, schedule, and so on. It's not clear to me because you said the contract would not be signed before 2017. But then when you explain the amount of money available, you put different life for different years. So I don't understand. I mean, when will be the next call to this one? And will you keep project on reserve list for the next round, or how does that work?
Thanks. There was someone that hasn't spoken yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about Annelies from Commerce and Justice Democracy. I have a question about lot 2. There you have to cover 6 member states with at least 3 partners. Do the 3 partners have to be from 3 different member states, or can they be from 2 different or 1 different member state?
And then the last one, there was someone, or it's okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, again, just because my previous question was not answered in terms of expectations about partnerships under lots 1 and 2. What type of alliances are you looking for? If you could elaborate a bit on that. Thank you.
And the last.
Just a short question. You made already clear that you can only apply once. So, but what happens? For example, you have an affiliated entities or 4 applicants, etc. That by mistake one actor is twice in an application, and he was the main applicant. You do not know. Will then the whole application be rejected, or you can maybe take out that applicant or applicant who was by mistake maybe twice in the application?
Okay, so that's it. For the question about the budget available, yes, basically there are two budgets from different years that are put together in this form. And they will be available in 2000. One is already available now because it's 2016. The other one will be available in 2017. But because the procedure of the call will take long enough so that the contract will be signed only in 2017, so everything will be done in 2017 with all the amount will be available. So there is no danger that. In fact, yes, it's more easy than how it looks probably from the. Yeah, the maximum freedom. Then, for lot 2,
sorry, for lot 2, or it was about the number of the partners. So actually you have 3 partners, so the lead partner and 2 partners, 2 co-applicants, or so 3 partners from 3 different EU member states. And these 3 partners from 3 different EU member states have to cover at least 10 EU member states in their proposal, or 6 if it's for the lot 2. Then to Margherita, I think this is a really specific question. This is something what we are looking for in terms of partnership. You know, we are looking for a good strategies, we are looking for good projects, and you are the experts, you are the ones developing the projects, you are the ones working in the field, so well, we don't know and we cannot impose you what kind of partnership we are looking for, whether it makes sense to liaise with local authority or whether it makes sense to liaise with the devil. It's up to you really. And then the question about the one application, I like that one. Well, if you really do apply by mistake, then it will be, but if it's not by mistake, and well, we somehow think that if you are submitting a proposal with 5 million euro, you do not do it by mistake, and I'm sorry to say that it will be rejected.
And then, okay, then we finish here. I'm sorry, but we have to leave the room. If you have any other question, and anyway, the guidelines will be published in a matter of real minutes or it's published. Okay, fine, good. You have the functional mailbox where you can address all your specific questions. Then you will receive clear answer also on more specific cases that you may have raised today, but that we cannot answer directly here. So please visit the website, and I will recall you that the deadline for submission of the concept note is the 1st of June. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed the session, and okay, and Paolo wants to say something too.
Just if anybody needs a stiff drink after this session, there's a drink in the tent in the back.